A lot of people tend to have an almost obsessive need to find love. They get so caught up in the concept of there being the one that they lose track of what's really important. It can be a hard thing to face, but some people are meant to fall in love, but not meant to be together. The sad truth to this is, we can be wrong. Sometimes the people we expect to be part of our lives forever are only meant to be in it for a short amount of time. Even though they were a big part of our life, we were just a small part of theirs. These are the relationships that teach us the most about who we are. There are few pains worse than having your heart broken by someone you love. When this happens, our mind will look for a reason behind it, where we are to blame. It's only with true self-acceptance that we can fully process heartbreak. Having the enigmatic idea of there being the one makes accepting heartbreak near impossible. With this notion, you can never be grateful for the love that you were able to share, even if it was only brief. Chinese philosopher Lao Tzu says, "The flame that burns twice as bright burns half as long." The stars that burn the brightest burn the quickest, but are the most beautiful. Paul Faraday wrote that. The love story between Sophie and James is a short one, but beautiful one. James is a nice guy. He is also insecure. He doesn't believe anyone likes him for who he is and thinks people need an excuse to be with him. He even relies on a mood ring to tell him how he feels for most of the movie.
So, how's your mood?
My mood is indigo.
Indigo? Nice, what does that mean?
It means that I'm happy, at peace, blissful.
You're such a sap.
It isn't until his ring gets ruined and he's forced to throw it away that James is able to finally face his true emotions. After throwing out his ring, he has nothing to fall back on. He has to accept what he's feeling. After this, we see a change in James. He becomes much more emotionally charged. His anger is much more impassionate. His sadness is much more intense. His world is flipped upside down when seeing Sophie with her ex. The fervid way that James handles the situation scares Sophie, which marks the beginning of the end for the relationship. Sophie isn't your average girl next door or manic pixie dream girl. She isn't written into the story to force growth upon James or make him have a life-changing epiphany. Sophie simply exists.
Life lessons. Screw you, James. I'm not some quirky character who exists just to give you an epiphany.
She is just as lost as James is, still trying to figure out what kind of person she really is. The story doesn't force them to be together, but it does force James to be grateful for the short amount of time that they shared. Similar to 500 Days of Summer, the movie teases us with a couple that seems almost perfect together. But in actuality, the characters are too flawed to actually be capable of sharing love. Dr. Bird's advice for sad poets isn't just a love story about Sophie and James. This movie is about James learning to love and celebrate himself as well. Loving yourself isn't always easy. We all have moments where we struggle with self-doubt and insecurities. To be able to wake up and celebrate yourself should be everyone's goal. Unless you're my ex. Then your goal should be stop being such a
Bong trumpet!
Funk trumpet?
All that loud talking, lying, save that shit for your man. Sounds like blah blah, I'm like aha, okay, what's up? Shut up!